Hello and welcome back, my friend. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys my routine for making some coffee. So now in the beginning you saw some kind of higher blend, higher gourmet coffee, which I like to use. But I don't use that all the time. Usually I just break out this Dunkin' Donuts full bean coffee right here, and I store it in this container. Now let's see how this turns out, because I'm going to be recording soon on a higher end mic, but hopefully this is okay for the time being. Now I wouldn't really necessarily consider myself a barista. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between somebody who knows everything about coffee and someone who knows zilch about coffee. So I will admit that this coffee grinder here, it's pretty much a budget electric coffee maker. I more or less found it. It wasn't really something that I bought myself. So you can actually see right there, there's some full beans left in the mixture, which you really kind of don't want with a coffee maker or a coffee grinder. So in goes some more beans over here, and you can see that these are going to be our Dunkin' Donuts coffee beans. This is not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, by the way, but I don't know, they're a cheap kind of, they're inexpensive, decent coffee bean that I just like to use, because we can't always have the gourmet stuff. And they're pretty uniform if you saw those beans. They're fairly uniform throughout, so I enjoy them. Now usually what I do is, you can notice that I'm clearly making more coffee here than one pot or one cup. Usually what I do is I grind up the beans for the week and store them in this container. And throughout the week, in the morning or the early afternoon, we'll grab some cups of this stuff and make a good old pot of coffee. So, of course, I really wanted to cut down on the volume in this video because it was really loud and it wasn't really exactly something that I think most people would enjoy listening to. So hopefully this voiceover is a decent excuse for audio. So now also what I usually do, you can still see that there's some on the bottom there. So what I usually do towards the end is I unplug it, kind of scoop up some of those, that coffee dust. So I definitely would like one of those twist coffee grinders, because then it pretty much any coffee beans that fall through, you know that they're going to be grounded up. The only thing about this is that you kind of have to grind the entire batch in one sitting, and whatever's left is left. Okay, so here I am plugging it out, which you may or may not notice was technically already unplugged, so I could do it with the camera in my hand. And in it goes. Maybe next time I record this, I won't have my I won't use the flash on my camera, because you can kind of tell it keeps going on and off. Maybe if you rewatch this video, you'll be able to tell. Okay, now this is kind of my coffee setup I have here. We got this milk, that cow pitcher there. It's way too big for any kind of milk we want to put inside of it, but we still like it. And I heard that that coffee maker has gotten some bad reviews, but it has automatic blooming. Oh yeah, and of course, here's my Los Pollos Hermanos mug from Breaking Bad. Big fan. So this coffee machine here has a setting in which you can put the timer on it, and I can pretty much just have fresh coffee made for me at any point in the morning, as long as I fill the reservoir with water and put some beans in there. So right now I'm, as you can see, kind of failing to do this with one hand, just cleaning out the coffee maker, the coffee filter. Just getting some water in there to A, heat up the mug, and B, kind of take away any paper taste that it might have in the coffee. So I'm still a barista in the making. I'm learning a lot about coffee and what's good coffee, what's crap coffee. So forgive me if this is pretty unprofessional. So usually, for a cup, I'll try to do probably like about half of whatever measuring device it is. I think it's a tablespoon, maybe. Okay, and here we go. So first I'm just blooming the beans here. Just getting them wet for about like, I think 30 seconds or so. Normally I'd like to clean off my spoon with more hot water. And of course, instead, it is facing the screen, which is wonderful and very nice to watch, completely obstructing our view of the delicious coffee. So I like to usually clean the teaspoon because otherwise it makes a bit of a mess. You get little coffee grinds everywhere. And there we go. You can kind of just smell that right now, right through the camera. See the steam. You can still kind of see those chunks, which is why I need a new coffee grinder. But at the moment, this is working just fine. And that's what I like to see. Now, if this was very freshly roasted coffee, you would be able to see some bubbles here, which you can't really see exactly right now. Maybe some small ones, but this'll do. This is still a delicious, inexpensive coffee, in my opinion. You can see some of our coffee trickling through here. Let this serve as probably even a tutorial, if you so wish, how to make this coffee, or how to make coffee in general. Because I do remember one time I was in a situation where I'd never made a coffee with a coffee maker before. And I was put in the spot. Somebody said, "Hey, you know how to make a pot of coffee?" I said, "Of course I do." So luckily at the time I still had a smartphone. So I was on using some Google Magic, trying to figure out how the heck you make coffee with a coffee pot in the back of the room. But I think I eventually got some help. I had to fess up and say I didn't know how to. So here's our coffee here, here's our black juice. And now I didn't really make too much just because I already had a lot of coffee that day. In fact, if you look at the coffee pot before, just kidding, this isn't live. If you saw the coffee pot before, you could see that there was some coffee left over, which I actually turned into iced coffee. And I'll probably have that tomorrow morning, because I filmed this about a few hours ago. So, here we go. We've got our coffee, freshly made. And sure, let's have a second sip. So, tell me what you guys think. Tell me what your morning routine is, or in my case, my weekly routine is for your cup of J. Or tell me what you like to have in the morning. Maybe some water, hopefully, some juice. Alright, guys. Have an awesome evening.